I feel like when we're at rock bottom or when we feel pain or when we're thinking that we're losing, we're actually winning to some extent. And there's different aspects. Like I've been through like I've lost my mother, I've lost my marriage, things that I wouldn't say they don't feel like wins, you know what I mean?
Right.
But to see the bigger picture of how God doesn't let a moment in our life pass and not mean anything. Like he sees the good in all of it, the purpose and how he's going to use it to restore, to redeem, to make us stronger, better humans. And I think that's nothing is wasted. It sums it all up.
We're all inspired by our human connection that arises when we share food with others. So what's on your heart becomes a hub for truly heartfelt conversation.
Tertulia, as they say in Spanish, fostering genuine bonds between individuals, creating that sense of community and connection.
I'm Paul Jacobs, your podcast co-host, ready to inspire you by conversations that nourish the soul as we go beyond the plate.
I'm Daniel Patiño, welcoming you to join us for some truly inspiring Tertulia. Get ready to satisfy that craving for connection and inspiration as we dive into topics that not only broaden your perspective, but also deepen your understanding of lives of families in Latin America, the Caribbean, or even in your own backyard. So wherever our conversations take us, come along for the ride and let's go beyond the plate together.
Okay. First of all, before we begin, I've got to say something about Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been there?
Maybe once.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah, once this week. Okay, there we go. This is what I'm talking about. All right, first of all, for those who are listening or watching us on YouTube on our podcast, know that Danny and I are big fans of Orlando, Florida. Mm-hmm. I used to live downtown Orlando, Lake Eola.
That's right.
Church Street Station, right? You know, those of you that, if you ever want to go and check it out, it's a lovely little spot. You can go, and I think they actually have the swans there. You can go on the lake, and you can, you and your significant other, you can go on the lake and
beautiful.
ride the swans in the water.
Yes.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Not actual swans.
No.
Not actual swans.
you pedal.
The pedaling.
pedaling
Yeah,
swans.
you don't
Right.
jump on swans.
That would be great too. A little bit expensive, and Peter wouldn't like that. But yes,
oh
you
my
have
gosh.
someone you pedal.
Yeah, I don't want the ASPCA coming after me like I'm on top of the back of swans. No,
Right, not at all.
And then, of course, because of Danny's two daughters, he spends half of his paycheck at Walt Disney World. I think he
That's
has efficiency above Main Street.
Yes, right next to Buena Vista Boulevard there.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Well,
Guilty.
Money
yeah.
well spent.
Oh, super.
Well, by the way, so you're hearing there is a third voice in our podcast studio today that also is very familiar with the city of Orlando. Blanca, welcome.
Hello, thank
Hello, Blanca.
you. Thank you so much. Yes, repping O-Town in the house.
O-Town. That was a band too, right?
It
That was like a boy
was.
band.
It was a
O-Town?
boy
It
band, yeah.
was.
Jeez.
The fact that you remember it is you're
Kind of
keeping them
interesting.
still in your memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I think we have a fan of
There you go.
O-Town.
10 cents just went to O-Town because you just remember them. That check's in the mail, O-Town. Hope
Well-
you can cash it soon.
Well, we're excited you're here because you're joining us during Hispanic Heritage Month. This is a very special episode because as we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, we know, Blanca, your family hails from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, woo.
All right. And
La Isla del
Danny-
Encanto. Huh?
La Isla del
La Isla
Encanto.
del
Del Encanto.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And then Danny, your family,
I am from Colombia.
right?
Colombian
Those that
descent.
didn't know,
Yeah.
right?
Nice.
And then me, as many of you know, I'm Pablo Jacobo this month because I am Guatemalan by marriage.
Okay.
Thanks to my wife.
Right. So last week at midnight, stroke of midnight on Sunday, he went from Paul Jacobs to Pablo Jacobo
Con adobo.
con adobo.
But
Yes, I
his
will.
accent is like really good.
Not
That's
bad, right?
Not
He's
bad.
got a good teacher.
I'll tell you the truth. Okay, so like I have to. This is something I don't want to readily admit. Maybe our audience will forgive me for this, but the only reason I excelled in Spanish in high school, all right, was because all the good-looking girls were in Spanish class. I'm not kidding you. I kid you not. I was like this unicorn, okay, of kids that wanted to get like I could have taken art, I could have taken shop, I could have taken another PE class. I went and took Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you.
I feel like the older I get, I have this understanding that for young boys, it's very easy to like lure them to church, to Spanish classes, choir,
Right.
you know, and it's usually girls.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
big time.
Oh yeah.
I've heard so many testimonies and stories of guys like, I came to church because I heard that's where all the pretty girls were with good heads on
Exactly.
their shoulders. And then they found Jesus. So you
And that's-
found Spanish.
And I also found Jesus because of a girl. I'm not kidding you, but that's another podcast episode for part 2 with Blanca. But it's interesting. And then the benefit of that ended up being, I'm not kidding. By the time I was 18 years old, I was fluent in Spanish. 18 years old. I was Señor Robles, el jefe del banco, in this class play. I'm not. You laugh all you want.
No, I can
was
see it.
literally
That's why I'm
in a
laughing.
play.
It's palpable.
Senora Caballo's class. It was a play we had to put on. It was Spanish for advanced placement. And Spanish for advanced placement, we had to do a play. And I was literally Señor Robles, el jefe del banco. And I went to college and I didn't take Spanish for 2 years and I forgot it all.
No.
Right?
That's where it drops off, right? You need to
Yeah.
constantly have somebody at your side speaking Spanish, which I think that's probably why you landed a Guatemalan beauty there.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And she's helping me thanks to her and Duolingo. Okay, God bless Duolingo. But, we're not here to talk about my Spanish skills. We're really here in the midst of Hispanic Heritage Month talking with Blanca, and we're so grateful. We've got so much to get to with you, Blanca, because as we were talking earlier, you're really part of the family here at Food for the Poor now.
I appreciate that.
I mean, I hope you saw the love as we toured around the building and you saw the different ones that we weren't just admiring your music, your ministry, your presence and your platform, but it was the fact that you're one of us now.
No, it was felt. For
Yeah,
sure. It
right?
felt like walking into your family's house and everyone being like, hey, she's here.
Exactly.
So I appreciate that so much.
And Danny was right. They do not pour over all this attention on us like when
No.
you're not in the building. There's no bowl with beverages and ice.
No.
Fresh
No
fruit
fresh
cut.
fruit.
Yeah, none
I
of
think you're going to have to bring me more often because if you want the special treatment, you
Of
need
course.
Blanca in the house.
You can just and it would be on speed dial because we love this attention and we're being spoiled. It's probably not going to happen until you come back.
I love it.
One of the things that is really amazing as we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, right in the smack in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month, is we really wanted to focus uniquely on these 3 key pillars: resilience, innovation, and unity. And I want to talk a little bit about resilience in regards to your life, because I really found that when we talk about the resilience, one of the things that I thought was fascinating was, when I read the Bible, God puts all of their stuff out there. Like he put David's stuff out there, right? He put Moses' stuff out there. He put Peter's stuff. Every time Peter got into it, right? He put it out there. I mean, Peter literally cut a guy's ear off, right? And God didn't say, I'm not going to let anybody know about this.
I'm going to let it slide.
I'm going to let this one slide. No, he put all this stuff out there. And I find that you have taken your stuff and put it out there through your music and through your platform. And I guess, that song you have called Something Better, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a line in there, or a concept in there but basically it was nothing is wasted.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. Because this resilience shows up in your music, this resilience shows up in your platform.
Oh, there's so many things going through my head right now. Because one, I'm like, it's kind of a full circle moment of being here for Hispanic Heritage Month or getting opportunities like this where I get to represent Latinas to some extent is such an honor. So as I'm talking, it's not my norm. Like in what I do in my career or in this industry of CCM, like it's not many moments that I get to highlight my roots and kind of this aspect of me. And it's been a journey for me to even accept it for myself. So I'm like, wow, this is a moment where I get to be a proud Latina, and that's a beautiful thing. And second, the words you chose, I felt like, how do you say, exemplify, or like they for me and what I think of my family, my mom, my ancestry, and kind of the person that I've become, resilience, unity. What was the third?
Innovation.
And innovation have been such key parts to my story. So I just, as you were talking, I'm like, I'm hearing all this for the first time, and I'm like, oh, I love where this is going already. But I think what I've held on to in this season of my life has been that statement alone. Nothing is wasted. And there's so much hope in that. There's so much peace in that, and understanding that the things that we go through in this life, they're not happening to us, but they're happening for us. And they have purpose. There's strength and perseverance and so many things that come from pain, which is such a crazy thing. But I feel like, I don't know if we talked about this last time, but even that scripture, like, count it all joy. And you're like, when you go through trials, you're like, what? But I feel like that's God's way. When I feel like when we're at rock bottom, or when we feel pain, or when we're thinking that we're losing, we're actually winning to some extent. And there's different aspects. Like I've been through like I've lost my mother. I've lost my marriage. Things that I wouldn't say they don't feel like wins. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm understanding of that. But to see the bigger picture of how God doesn't let a moment in our life pass and not mean anything. Like, he sees the good in all of it, the purpose, and how he's going to use it to restore, to redeem, to make us stronger, better humans. And I think that's, nothing is wasted. It sums it all up.
You know, and it's interesting because I was also identifying with your story, because I grew up in a household where we were, as they say, CEO Christians. Christmas and Easter only. I can't say it any other way, right? I mean, it's true. And you didn't really have that experience, but then there was something that took place after a lot of pain, and it was the transformation of your father. That radical transformation that really turned a lot around for him, but also for the family. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. For those that haven't heard my story, I grew up as a CEO Christian. You know, my family believed in God for sure. As Latinos, I think we all have, you know, some type of reverence of like God and prayer and these things. But to make it an actual relationship is something that came later. And so growing up, I didn't have that aspect of like going to church and really building that relationship. And my parents divorced when I was really young. My dad had a drug addiction problem, and so he was kind of non-existent for a lot of my younger years, which is crucial for a child. But what you were just speaking on is my dad came back into the picture when I was a young teenager. And he had a radical kind of like, which I love so much about my dad's story, is that it felt like this personal encounter with Jesus. And it wasn't something that was taught in the church. It wasn't something that I experienced because I was told that this is what I needed to believe. But it's because it was like a real, honest experience that my father had, where he changed his life. He felt like he was losing everything. And he said he felt, you know, God's hand in a very dark season of his life, and said, if you get me out of this, I promise I'll serve you for the rest of my life. And he did. God took him out of that really dark place and cleaned him up. His family helped him through that process. And then he showed up in Orlando to find his kids and apologize and ask that, you know, to be a part of our life and take us to church and just build from there. So I got to hear my dad's story, and he also loved music, so he would sing at church, and just like it left such an impression on me. And that's how I ended up giving my life to the Lord.
You're very humble when you talk about your dad loved music. Tonito Reyes. A Christian salsero.
Christian salsero, hey.
I have listened to his music.
I was about to say, I mean, it had to be an inspiration, right? Listening,
it was
probably
a huge
dad
inspiration.
sing along.
Okay.
My dad, I mean, he was very charismatic, had such a personality. And yes, he used to say, like, because he went to jail for some time. But he always speaks of it like in such a positive way, because he's like, God was cleaning my record. He was wiping it clean. And so while he was in jail, that's where he learned to read and write. He used the Bible as kind of his, his foundation. And then he would sing in the jail. And so they would call him the singer, and he would sing coritos that he used to know as a child, or sing people's favorite song. And then as soon as he was out, he knew that was like his purpose. And so I got to hear my dad not only share his testimony, but go to these churches and pour out his heart and sing and do the salsa. You know, he was just like, it was so beautiful to watch. And I kind of wish I was so young that I didn't really register like the gift that I had in my dad and in my, like the culture aspect of what he was doing through music. So I wish I had him now, you know, that I have all this understanding, but it definitely left a legacy and an impression on my heart. So Toñito Reyes, check it out. And his tag would always be Santo.
I love it. I think I want that on my ringtone.
Yeah.
Santo. Oh, it's my wife calling.
Oh, it's Blanca calling.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And before I toss it to Danny, what I love the most about that testimony is when you look up Toñito Reyes, you're just going to see Christian Salsero, not the past.
Yeah.
Where he left the earth, how he left the earth is how we know him as.
Oh, that's
You know?
beautiful. Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Amen.
And we get to live his legacy, like you said, his legacy forever with music. And it's on YouTube. And however, YouTube is going to be on forever. And I'm pretty sure you probably have a couple of
yes, I
his
have
music
some of his
right
CDs
stored away
and,
somewhere.
yeah.
That's good. And he inspired you a little in life. Like you said, you're a little kid. You kind of see dad doing his thing, but you don't understand it until way later.
Yeah.
And I think also him being a salsa singer in Puerto Rico, I mean, it's part of your culture. That's Puerto Rican salsa is my favorite.
Yes.
There's Cuban salsa. There's salsa in Japan as well.
What?
Orquesta La Luz. Yes, you can look it up. Japan has their own
I'm
salsa.
learning something new here
La
too.
Orquesta La Luz, like the light, right? Now, everybody has their own thing, but I think Puerto Rican salsa means like the roots of all it. And speaking about roots, I mean, you now flourished into a very, very powerful and recognizable Christian singer. But I think you're turning a little bit back to your roots, which is Spanish.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you got a Spanish album.
I did a Spanish
Yeah.
EP, and I've done a few singles here and there. I've translated some of my songs into Spanish, but it's definitely been something new that I've kind of started doing or pouring into. But I feel like that's what like when I started my career, it's like I started believing that in order to be successful or in order to fit, I had to follow the mold of what was kind of mapped out in front of me in Christian music, or like the American style music. It has a certain sound, it has a certain look. And so you just, for whatever reason, either learn or is taught, or you just take on this identity of like, if I look and sound more like this, then I think I'll have a better chance. And so for a lot of my earlier career, like when my dad was here, it was like, oh, there's what my dad does, but what I do is completely different, and the two don't mesh. And then when I lost my dad and ended up losing my mom, I remember their words of like, Blanca, pero trata de hacer cosas para tus raíces, tu familia. Like they wanted me to try. Like, don't be ashamed of who you are. Try, you know, and I would be like, there's no way. I don't speak good Spanish. I'm not going to put myself out there and like make a fool out of myself. Like there were so many excuses. But when I lost them, I realized like, oh, this is a part of me and I want to explore it. I want to learn more. And I started breaking down some of those walls of like feeling that embracing that would make me too different or unacceptable. From my curly hair, I would always want to straighten my hair, like just different things that I'm like, I would have never thought this was tied to kind of this idea that I had to look or sound a certain way. So these last, since 2017, how many years has that been now?
About 7.
I feel like it's
kinda
been
8.
Oh my gosh.
20.
No, 2017.
And add COVID to it, so another 5 to that. Yeah, so for sure. About
We're
30,
like 30
4
years
scores
ago.
and 18 years ago, I started
wait.
singing.
No, but around 2017, I feel like is when I started doing the journey. I have like a documentary that I did. It's called Pedazos. And it was like the start of this journey of kind of learning more about who I am and my Spanish heritage.
Pedazos, pieces. You're
Pieces,
piecing
yeah,
your
it was
history
like-
back together,
Exactly. I was finding those pieces that I had lost along the way. And so here we are. And yeah, it's been beautiful.
Well, I'm glad those pieces led you here. And you had time with us. And that's opened the doors as well for other Latin Christian artists that kind of probably on the same boat, that they don't know that being themselves is enough, which that's just a ridiculous idea. I would rather have an artist say, I am this, than I'm just a bunch of makeup and a bunch of clothes. And when I leave the studio, I'm just Pepe Perez, which is another person. Yes, it's just, we use those names as just another guy, you know?
I think we use it Fulanito.
Fulanito.
That's what I use. Fulano de tal.
Fulano de tal is the other one. You're just another Fulano de tal Pepito Perez that I'm nobody if I'm not in a studio or if I don't have makeup on, which is, again, that's just an idea that shouldn't be there. And I feel that you're now turning that page. This is you, and I'm loving you now, and the Blanca before that, and this just, I think you're inspiring a lot of young girls out there, or young guys that just feel like I can be Latino and it's not a problem, or I can be Latino anywhere and it's not a problem.
Yes,
you did, and this is really cool because we're talking about this. You did a documentary where you went back home to Puerto Rico, and what I thought was so fascinating was the one segment where you met all those young ladies with the curly hair, the afros and the curly hair.
It was so wild.
Right?
Yes.
And you said something. You said, my Spanish culture and deep Latina roots played a huge part in this. And you always said your parents desired for you to embrace that part of you and create music for your people and your family. But I thought, what does it have to do with curly-haired ladies and the afros and all that? But it had everything to do with it, right?
It was, the reason it was so crazy is because you think your story is like so unique to you, which it is. But when you get around these young women and you're like, oh my gosh, you went through this experience too, or like our hair is so significant in Latina culture, I feel like. And so I remember going through like a very traumatic thing where I used to relax my hair. I would always straighten it. I never wanted to wear it curly. As a young girl, I felt to look beautiful, I had to look like the princesses. None of them had curly hair. It's like this long, flowy, beautiful hair. And here I was with the fro. And so it's like it plays in your psyche or something that in order to be beautiful, you have to look a certain way. And so when I turned about 20 years old is when I did the big chop. And I thought that was like my experience of like a traumatic thing where I cut all my hair off and I let my natural hair grow. Wow. And then as I'm talking to all these girls in the documentary, they all start sharing about their big chop moment where they had the same revelation and it was like, that's it. I'm cutting my hair and I'm letting my natural hair grow. And even for some of these communities, for these girls, like I live, in the United States, it's different. And Puerto Rico is part of us, but there's still some places that are very different. Like they have a lot of culture that's kind of navigating how they function as a community. And they're like, they would be frowned upon, or they look like, stop, you look a mess. Like, don't wear your hair that way. That's not acceptable. And they had to share with these, like with their tias and their moms and like older generations, like, no, this is me. And you can be that too. And have teaching them how to embrace themselves. Like, it was just like eye-opening, I guess, to see like what I thought was so, like I was so alone in that experience of like having to cut my hair and look like I looked crazy. Luckily, there was no Instagram at the time, so you will not see those pictures on the internet. But we all went through it and had this, like it was spiritual. It was connected to who we were. Like it was so much more than just our hair.
Just a lot of pressure off your shoulders. You're finally breathing right.
Literally.
So Blanca breaking barriers. I see Blanca breaking barriers.
That's the next album.
So Blanca, you break barriers. You're a mom. You're a music artist. You ministry. But who is Blanca?
Who is Blanca?
Who is Blanca?
Man, I'm still figuring that out. But I'm getting closer every day. I feel like knowing more and more about myself.
Hispanic Group! Hispanic Group is an advertising agency focused in the U.S. Hispanic market that specializes in customized media solutions for businesses.
It sure does. Desde estrategias de redes sociales hasta publicidad en medios tradicionales. Ofrecen soluciones personalizadas y creativas adaptadas para alcanzar sus objetivos de marketing, all tailored to the diverse and rapidly growing segments of the Hispanic population across 40 2 Hispanic markets in the U.S. and Latin America, huh?
Wow, you get all the great lines.
Hey.
But they use their cultural expertise to create strategies to deliver efficient results.
Hispanic Group! Lleva tu marca al corazón de la comunidad hispana. Take your brand to the heart of the Hispanic community. Hispanic Group.
Their expertise lies in reaching the Hispanic market, leveraging its rich multiculturalism. Hispanic Group combines innovation, cultural insight, and strategic collaboration to drive what? Tangible results for their clients.
I agree with everything you just said.
Now, for more information, you can visit their website. Guess where? HispanicGroup.net.
Okay.
That's HispanicGroup.net, or
I'll say it in Spanish. HispanicGroup.net.
I was like, I'm trying to tie my next album. No one really knows the title of my next album or anything. But
Blanca Breaking Barriers.
No.
I get it. No, that, we already quoted it. Exclusive on Beyond the Plate.
Right.
No, I'm kidding.
But I think in this next chapter of music and stuff, it's all about blossoming into who I am. And I'm 38 years old, and I feel like I'm finding myself. Like, even at this time of my life or this age, I'm finding my voice. I'm discovering more and more of who is Blanca. Like, I ask myself that question now more and more than I ever have. But I love how it almost feels like this circle of, you think you have it all figured out, and you think that if you do these things, that even with my faith, to be very vulnerable here, but like, even when I losing my mom, just feeling like, you know what? I don't know if I want to go to church. I don't know if that's really what God is asking of me. I was like questioning everything.
Wow.
And then but it brought me back to where I started, and the love that I first had for the Lord, and wanting to be in community and wanting to serve him and wanting to do right. Like, it's like I had to strip all of that in order to see that that's really what I needed. But it was my decision. And so, yeah, I think that's the beautiful ongoing process of being a child of God, is that you never really figure it all out. It's a constant search, but he's in all of it. And he's helping you along the way, kind of holding your hand and saying, okay, come on, you got this. You got this.
As you were talking, it reminds me of the scripture when Jesus comes to the disciples and says, "Who do men say that I am?" And then he breaks it down even further, and he says, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter's answer was, of course, the correct one, right? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. But it was what Jesus said after. He said, heaven and earth, no, he says, earth did not, heaven, man and earth, I'm messing that scripture up, but he says, heaven revealed this to you. This is what he tells Peter. Heaven revealed this to you. And I believe that question is answered, who is Blanca? When heaven reveals that to you. That, what we see here in our platform, or what we do, it's not what we do, it's not what we wear, it's not how we phrase things, but it's who heaven said, who heaven determined us. And we used the word purpose earlier, right? That everything had a purpose, nothing is wasted, and God will reveal.
100%. I think the old Blanca story was that I was who everyone else wanted me to be. I was, my strength was found in my ability to perform and please. And that's where I found my worth. But I am worthy because I'm his, and that's it, period. And I've let go of that weight. And it's an ongoing process. There's times where it still hits me and I'm like, oh, am I going to disappoint it? I hope they can understand, that I'm trying to prioritize my son or my family, or these are the things that I feel the Lord is leading me in. But it's such a beautiful revelation when you stop thinking about what everyone else wants of you or what everyone else thinks of you, and you focus on who you belong to and what he says about you and the truth of that. I think there's freedom in that.
Becomes a new day.
A new day.
A new day.
Wake up, it's a new day.
Yeah, that's right. And it's way, way something better. I'll tell you that. I had to sneak in this. I was I was waiting to sneak in those two for. All right, check
That-
and check.
You did
All
it.
right, back to you.
That's
Paul.
good. That's good. That's good. All right. So our kind of our last topic to talk to you about is that concept of unity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we mentioned earlier that, you lent your music, you lent your talents and your skills, your heart really was poured out on stage for our national gala, We Are One.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that don't know, We Are One yielded 1.4 million meals
Oh wow!
to families.
Yes.
I got to be a part of that, guys.
It's just
right.
it's mind blowing because you moving people to the place of poverty alleviation through a meal, through the basics of life, and you were able to be a big part of that. And you walk the halls here in Food for the Poor, and everybody's, "Hey, Blanca." I mean, there was a young lady who works upstairs, and she's like, "Hi, Blanca." I'm like, we didn't introduce her to Blanca, but everyone knows because you're part of the family. We just need to get you a lanyard and a name tag,
right.
a little fob to get through the door, But you're part of this family, and one of the things that was so interesting was everyone's comment coming out of that said, she's like so involved from the beginning. Like you were so involved. Your questions, how you were on your social media platforms, that unity was really evident for us that you were a part of the mission of Food for the Poor. How was it for you on the other side? Because we looked into your life, seeing you helping our mission. But what was it like for you?
I think even being here now, I'm like, it's pretty eye-opening that I'm like, this is in my backyard. I would have never known that I had family here. And it was, a 2-hour and 40-minute drive from my house. Right. And to see the work that you're doing, to walk the halls, to see the pictures and hear the stories, I'm like, I'm so grateful to God that he had our paths, meet. Because I'm like, I want to be a part of what they're doing. Like, I want to, it's very impactful to see not only the work that you guys are doing, but the humility that you have in doing it. And so I want to take the moment to applaud you guys for your work, not just for my music. That was a very small part of what took on at We Are One. But it's the foundation that you've set that actually made that successful, because you are staying true in humility to the mission that you have of feeding people in need. And that's a beautiful thing.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, and on behalf of the hundreds who are behind that statement, we stand in representation of them.
That's right.
But you mentioned the word mission, and you had an opportunity to see a mission. You see the work in and a mission of your own in Dominican Republic.
Yes.
What was that like? Talk to us a little bit about the families you met and the children and some of the places that you went in the Dominican Republic, and how did it make you feel when you saw what you saw?
It was a very eye-opening experience, even that. Being in Puerto Rico, I felt like I had a sense of what poverty is, like in visiting my family or seeing like their needs. But when you go on a missions trip and you really go to the least of those that are in severe poverty, we visited Bates, like you have Haitian communities within the Dominican Republic that they have even less resources than the Dominicans do, because they don't have their papers. They don't have any source of hope. They're just on survival fully. Walking into homes, I got to hear some of the story that you experienced, but I walked into a home. It was 4 children and their mother, so 5 people, and it was probably the size of a room in my house, and it had a bed. And to see like dirt floors, they had made the house out of pieces of wood scraps and just this bed. I'm like, you don't understand what poverty looks like until you go out there for yourself and experience what these people are going through. So it's such a heart-wrenching, like you want to change it all, you want to do it all, but understanding that what God has called us to is to play our role in the bigger body, and that whatever you can give, whatever you can do, even in the smallest way, is what makes the difference of shifting people from what we talked about, not just providing a meal, but helping them see hope, helping them find Jesus is ultimately what's gotten us out of our darkest places, what makes us think that it wouldn't do the same for them. And that's where the shift happens. It's within your mind, your mindset, and knowing like, I'm a child of God. I have purpose. I have a mission, that it's not just what I see here, but the things that I've never experienced or seen are also open to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I encourage everyone listening, if you can find a way to even in the smallest way, get involved. You have an amazing organization here in Food for the Poor that you can really find what that is for you, like just find what you're passionate about and see how you can give some of your time or your resources to make a difference.
And it does make a difference.
It really
And
does.
It's that one push. It's just a little push of getting them back to, okay, we've been talking about breathing today, right? So just kind of breathing and having a better outlook to the future. And
I'll say, I said this on my post, like, I am the most skeptical person. I think because of the things that I've experienced in life, I'm just like, I don't trust anything. I always have my guard up. Like, it takes a little bit. Like, I want to see the workings of like what's happening. Being here, I'm like, I get to experience the people and the culture and what you guys are really about. And it is 100% the real deal, but that's the big thing too. Like, if you're like me and you could be a little skeptical, like, bring it to God, like bring it to the Lord and say, Lord, like, help me see what it is that you want me to do or how I can contribute in this time. Like, don't let that be the setback of what holds you from really getting beyond your own circle.
We're joined by Blanca on Beyond the Plate in Hispanic Heritage Month. And this is so interesting that you had an opportunity to go. You could have gone to a lot of different countries, but you went to a country where you speak the language in Dominican Republic. How was it in the communication with the families in Spanish? I mean,
that's a cool question. Right? Yeah. Because going back to what I said earlier, I have a little bit of embarrassment with my Spanish at times. Like, I speak it fluent, but I know that it's not to the level that I would have hoped. Or like when I go to see my family, they're like, oh, here comes the American. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm so different. And so I kind of like didn't think that was going to be like a super strength for me.
Yeah.
And it so was. It was so, it was like, I felt so, again, orgullosa, that like I felt proud of my heritage and that I could speak to them. The girls would come to me and they would want me to like ask questions to some of the other people in our team. And they felt like you could see the connection happen as soon as I spoke their language or was able to worship with them in their heart language. Like, there was so many beautiful moments where it broke down kind of a barrier that was there for some other people. But I'm like, man, I would have never thought that this would be a gift in this way. So that was another, like, I'm so glad you asked that, because that was a huge takeaway for me, is that I don't have to be ashamed of the way I speak Spanish, because to them it was more than enough and felt like what they needed to feel connected to someone that was visiting with them, So I'm really grateful that I went to a place that did speak Spanish.
That's something that's tied in our Hispanic culture. Like, if you meet one person that's Hispanic amongst someone who's not, they'll go straight for that person and just unveil every secret possible for some reason. I've been in moments like that where it's like, tú hablas español. Bueno, entonces mi tío el otro día me hizo I'm like, I didn't.
You're like, okay,
está bien, listo, siga, por favor. I was just greeting you.
And they're like just grabbing me. They're like, okay,
right.
Pregúntale a ella, ese pelo de ella es real. It's like they wanted to know everything, but they were holding so much back because they felt like
confianza.
Yeah, they had the confianza. When they found me, and felt like, okay, she can be the bridge in helping us communicate, to ask questions. And so it's a huge thing. Yeah.
My first trip to Guatemala with Food for the Poor. And, you remember, Señor Robles, el jefe del banco, had lost a lot of his Spanish after 2 years of non-compliance in college. But when I got to Guatemala for the very first time, I think it was around 2012, and I started speaking with the little kids. They didn't correct me. They were just happy that we could el pelota, and that was it. And once I could communicate just a few words, and I felt so good, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah,
and it just built you up. That's great. And we talked still on this concept of unity. One of the things that we've noticed in a lot of some of your projects lately, you've worked with a lot of different artists and a lot of different Latino artists. I mean, you really you're not just taking this as just a project. This has become who you are and different artists. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some artists, Latina artists, that are really doing this in this space for Christ really well that you want to just share about?
Well, first, before I go there, I want to say, now I'm going to put my artist mama hat on. Like, if you are someone that wants to become an artist, or like I get questions like that all the time, like relationship is such a key part of our ministry and what we do. Being able to highlight others, to encourage others, to find the like to be able to find that unity even within your own community, because it's not always taught, especially as a Latina woman. You are taught there's only one space for the Latin woman, and you better take it. There's no room for anyone else, So it's this mindset, if someone else gets it, I lose it. But it's so far from, one, the way that God works or the truth. It's really about relationship building, and that comes before any opportunity. Is what I've learned at this stage of my life, is like opportunities may come, but making sure that relationship is there as the foundation is what sustains you as an artist. And so I'm big on highlighting others, having them on my project, like just based out of like whether it's Jacqueline or Torin, people that I've made songs with before. These are my friends. Like I've been able to build relationship with them outside of just my life as an artist,
Right.
So I wanted to say that. But one of my biggest inspirations in embracing like my Latina roots has been Christine de Glario. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She's like a leyenda. She's the legend for us. But I've gotten to do community with Christine. Like I've gotten to actually hang with her and her family, her beautiful kids. She's invited me into her home. She's cooked for me. And she is one of the rawest, most like, there's nothing off the table for Christine. Like she will talk about just about anything, from mental health to relationships and tips and hardships and things that she's experienced and what it is to be a woman. Like we've talked about it all. And so I think she's inspired me because she's been a trailblazer in so many ways for the Latina community. She's been able to be a bridge of bringing in kind of this strong Spanish worship, but having American platforms for the lack of, like just being able to merge these two communities together. And it's given artists like me an opportunity to have and be in the space that I'm in. So I long to do that for other artists that are up and coming, and there's so many, like Karen Espinoza. She lives in this area too. She was a Maverick City Musica girl, but now she's doing her own thing in the worship Spanish community, and these young artists that are absolutely killing it right now. But I long to be the bridge for them, and to also pave a way where they feel like, oh, I thought that wasn't accessible to me or an opportunity for me, but I see that Blanca was able to do it, and now we see the trail on where to go. So, yeah.
I think what you just gave was $1 million, briefcase of advice, right? That it wasn't just about music. Relationship is about in any aspect of life.
Yes.
Whether it had everything to do with music, but nothing at all, because it is the quintessential key to any open door. I mean, we're sitting here having a podcast together because of relationship,
Yep.
right? I mean, I stalked Danny for years. No, I'm just kidding.
Broke a window, throwing rocks in my window.
Oh man.
Can you come on and do
No.
a podcast? I gotta ask my mom.
I need that on part 2. I need to hear that story.
Yeah, right. But it's relationship, and you were telling us a little bit about. Okay, but by the way, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news from Blanca: there is a new
Yes,
podcast project
I am.
based on relationship. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm starting a podcast.
Yeah.
Woohoo! It's called Taste of Grace, and I'm doing it with one of my best friends. Her name is Dorca Jones, and she does my makeup. We actually met on set on a music video with Christine Nicolario and myself, and she was Christine's makeup artist. And then I was like, I want you to do my makeup. And then it was like inseparable ever since that moment. But we've seen the need in our own circle of just like our community of girls needing to meet together. A lot of us are either working moms or just have our own like life that's happening, and we are in desperate need for community and like-minded women that have faith as their foundation but are able to like be real. And so that's kind of where it all unraveled. Like, what if we did a podcast and just invited a bunch of our friends, whether it is Christine or Jacqueline or Angela Johnson is another guest that we're going to have. And just like, let's talk about the real stuff and do it over. Our favorite thing to do is eat. So let's just like eat some yummy Latin food and invite people to have conversation. I think what better combo is there? So that should be launching next year, and we are super excited about it.
So when you're finished with Beyond the Plate, inspired conversations that nourish the soul, we want you to move over to all your podcast platforms in 2025
Yes.
for a taste of grace.
Look at us, just all about being around the table. We're
Okay.
beyond the
Right.
plate,
Yeah.
and we're tasting grace.
Taste it. And believe it or not, it's interesting when we talk about this. This is exactly what we discussed in how we would come together and have this podcast. It was about those conversations that go just a little bit further than the cooler, the elevator conversations, So that's awesome. And just put it out there. We'd like to eat too.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
great hosts, guests, and
I'll
we'd
bring
like
in
to-
empanadas. You'll bring
Jamaican oxtail.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Never
I'll
had
I'll
it.
do it. Oh,
delicioso.
yes.
time
Oh
out.
yeah.
Jamaican oxtail?
Never
Never?
had it.
Not once?
Not once.
No?
I think it's the oxtail throws me off.
Until you taste it.
I think you're just seeing an ox
I
its
am.
tail. But
I am
once you
seeing-
see it in front of you and you taste it, it's completely
Yeah,
different.
because Game changer. Us Puerto Ricans be like when they say it's pig ears, it's
it's
pig
a pig ear.
ears.
Yeah, of course.
It's like-
or hoof or
Yeah.
whatever part
You're
you
gonna
have
see
that
the
day.
chicken leg. If it's chicken leg soup, the chicken,
You know,
The
hand
little-
there, right?
little
it's like
claw
so the
with the-
oxtail is like I'm kind of like, what is this texture? Does it have hair?
That's not
I
an
don't
ox
know.
sitting in a bowl of soup or anything. It's well prepared.
I'm ready.
We'll get there. And you can.
I need
we'll
next
taste
time
it.
I'm here.
That's right.
Done.
I want to try the best
Jamaican oxtail.
Jamaican oxtail.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. It's
And I'll
done
bring the
deal.
bandeja paisa, which is one of those
Ooh.
Colombian plates that
Oh.
bring everything.
Yes.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking
I don't think we have enough time to list all the ingredients again.
No.
But I think we've gone to know Blanca a little bit, and I think our audience as well. And I want to thank you personally because
Thank you.
I have two girls at home myself, and to see someone like you on a screen or in person, I think just is already an inspiration in itself. And you are leading that march in front of many other women that just right now are looking around, not knowing where to go. And again, I thank you for being that pioneer.
That means a lot.
All right.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Well, Blanca, just so you know, on Beyond the Plate, we always end every episode on a positive note.
Wait, let's try that again. I want to join.
I thought we were
Oh, we got an encore. Whoa!
Encore or a return.
No, it's an encore. It's an encore.
I'll
She's
take
a
as it is.
professional.
Encore.
She's used to encores.
Okay.
Come on. All right.
So we
On three.
All right.
All right. 1, 2, 3. We end every episode on a
Positive note.
I was off
Wow.
key. I apologize.
Yeah, but Blanca made up
I
for
was
the
too.
difference.
I mean, I feel like
I
that's
was
the
trying to
part
like
of
sit
it.
low so Blanca would come up.
This is our
Thank you, Blanca.
This is our first ever ensemble positive note.
Right.
I liked it.
So welcome aboard. You're now officially part of the family.
Thank you.
We always try to end on a positive note and find things that really inspire us and leave our audiences with something that really just really encourage them to go that extra mile, go that next step, to wake up another day and to get back on track. And when I heard an interview you gave and you talked about legacy, I said, no one better to give and to share a positive note than Blanca for this episode. So I put it there
I'm gonna
just so you
read this
remember.
out.
Yeah,
because I don't remember half of the things I say.
It's a good thing.
But I'm going to share this quote here about legacy. It says, legacy to me is that it's not about pressure. It's not about trying to do things because you're trying to build your own, but more so because you're doing it for others and you're understanding that the role you play is so much bigger than just you.
Awesome.
Don't
That's
slam
it.
dunk.
Slam.
Drop
Right.
the mic.
Backwards.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Triple, double, hat
Dunk the
trick, grand slam.
Dump the
Dunk
mic.
the mic.
Everything. All of it. Grand
All of
slam. A sports reference here. Home run. I don't know. It's
Touchdown.
It's. Thank you.
Oh, man.
But yes.
Yes.
Santo!
Oh, yes. We brought it all back. I love it.
Blanca, thanks for joining us on Beyond the Plate.
Thank you for
Fist bump.
having me.
Fist bump.
Fist bump.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Beyond the Plate. We love having you here.
Keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at beyondtheplate.podcast.
And if you enjoy the show, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give our videos a like. Just search Food for the Poor Beyond the Plate.
Your support means the world to us.
All right, folks, we'll see you on the next Beyond the Plate episode.
I'm waving.